This is ABC15 Mornings.
Right now at 6, Lori Daybell's husband behind bars this morning after police find human remains. What we're learning about this case with big ties to Arizona.
As the nation focuses on police reform, the chief of Phoenix PD announcing a big change. The question this morning, is it enough?
And check those lotto tickets for the first time ever. Somebody right here in Arizona won the Mega Millions jackpot and has about 410 million reasons to celebrate this morning. We say good morning to you. Nick Saletti here in studio. Kaylee O'Kelly social distancing from home. And boy, a lot of us kicking ourselves for not playing the lottery, right?
That, yes, but I also think when we have a morning like this, it's fun to dream about what you might do with some of that money. And I think that has everybody in a pretty good mood around here. Hopefully you're feeling that at home as well. We do want to check in with our Iris Hermosillo. You've got a little pep in your step too, Iris, even with the forecast that we have for the weekend.
Hey, we got to stay positive and, look at it on the bright side, right? And we are going to be hotter today, but at least temperatures will be near normal before we get even hotter by the end of the week. So some positivity here on your Wednesday. As we start the day, we are kicking off the day with clear skies, plenty of sunshine, and temperatures right now not doing too bad. But if you want to get outside for maybe a walk, a run, a hike, do it early because today's temperatures will climb faster than they have the last few days. Right now, we're waking up to temperatures in the 60s to 70s across the valley with Phoenix down to 73 degrees, even a little cooler than where our temperature was at this time yesterday. But a quicker warm up will put us in the mid to upper 80s by 10 a.m., then into the 90s through lunchtime with the hundreds this afternoon. A high today of 104, 10 degrees hotter than yesterday. We'll talk about how much higher that temperature goes before the weekend in just a few minutes. But I want to say good morning to Chelsea Davis, who's been monitoring our drive this morning.
Good morning, Iris. Good morning to all of you at home as well. The only crash that we have on our accident log group traffic maps right now is on I-8 in the westbound direction closer to Freeman Road. It's off to the shoulder and we're not tracking any big delays. You're still going to see lots of green for the flows. Same story on the east side of town. US 60, the 202s all clear, even South Mountain looking really nice. Wide view of kind of the west side of town meeting the North Valley there. Carefree Highway, Loop 303, Loop 101, I-10, all good. If you travel on I-10 making your way into downtown Phoenix eastbound from Loop 101 to the mini stack, it'll take you 15 minutes to go 13 miles, and we actually have an ADOT camera near the area of I-10 and 83rd Avenue, normally where we would start to see breaks. Right now, you're not going to see delays until after the Deck Park Tunnel.
All right, Chelsea, thank you. A grim discovery in Idaho. Human remains found on the property of Chad Daybell, who's now in police custody. His wife, Lori Daybell, also behind bars in connection to the disappearance of her two kids, JJ and Tylee. The kids have been missing since last fall when they moved away from the valley. Story here has so many layers, so let's get to Mark Thompson to try to break it down for us. Mark, piece together exactly what all of this means.
Good morning, Nick. And first off, those remains, they have yet to be identified. And Chad Daybell, police say he even tried to make a run for it as that discovery was being made, but he was quickly captured and taken into custody. Now, Tuesday, police arrested Daybell after searching his property. Dozens of investigators, including police and FBI, scouring that property, that farm with dogs and digging for hours before uncovering an unidentified body. A neighbor saw police make that arrest after Chad apparently tried to escape.
Saw a car fly past us and there was a couple of cops behind it following him. They got him to pull over and then several other cop cars arrived shortly after.
17-year-old Tylee and now 8-year-old JJ have not been seen since September. Meanwhile, their mother, Lori Vallow, is behind bars after authorities say that she claimed JJ and Tylee were with friends here in Arizona. Now, there's a long line of suspicious deaths in Daybell's and Vallow's families following that, and police say that they grew suspicious of Daybell after he married Vallow 2 weeks after his first wife died. Her body was exhumed in December. Chad Daybell will be in court today. He's supposed to be in court at around 8 o'clock this morning in Idaho, and he's facing charges right now of destroying evidence, but there could be more charges later. Police are also looking into the circumstances surrounding his first wife's death. Reporting live this morning, Mark Thompson, ABC 15 Arizona. Back to you.
Okay, Mark, thank you for that update. Let's switch gears now. We continue to monitor the coronavirus pandemic. The latest numbers from state health officials show there's now been more than 28,000 confirmed cases in Arizona, and nearly 1,100 people have died from the virus. You can see the number of cases steadily increasing in this chart. But the big concern is the rising number of hospitalizations. These graphs show the use of ICU beds and ER visits going up. Officials from Banner Health have been voicing concerns about ICUs reaching capacity. And this is what else we're finding out this morning. The big concern, of course, as we talked about, is what exactly is going to happen and if everyone is going to be ready for this kind of influx if it continues. Take a listen.
If we continue at a rate like this, we're facing a significant chance that we're going to have to shut down the state again.
And so Governor Doug Ducey maintains that the state has the capacity to handle a surge in coronavirus patients.
Well, from kindergarten to college, right now school officials across Arizona are working to get kids back on campus in the fall, of course, safely. We've been hearing a lot about plans that are being talked about right now and potentially put in place. Today, the Arizona Board of Regents is going to meet. They're going to be talking about fall semester and COVID-19 response planning. Both ASU and the University of Arizona have said they plan to have students back on campus next school year. And the Kyrene District will be offering full digital options for families here in town who may not be ready to send their kids back to class for the upcoming school year. This is one of 3 choices for students in that district, and we have posted Kyrene's full reopening strategy. It's up right now at ABC15.com.
6:06, just hours after a celebration of George Floyd's life. New hope that lasting and meaningful change will be possible. Lawmakers from Capitol Hill to city halls across the nation are considering reforms for law enforcement. ABC's Inez de la Cuetera has the latest now from D.C.
This morning, a statue of Christopher Columbus sitting at the bottom of a lake. As George Floyd's death sparks a new movement, the removal of what some say are symbols of racism. A crowd in Richmond, Virginia, knocking the statue down, dragging it from a park, and throwing it into the water. Nearby, a stalemate over this monument to Robert E. Lee. The governor wants it gone, but a judge has now issued an injunction against its removal. And NASCAR driver Bubba Wallace now calling for Confederate flags to be removed from racetracks.
No one should feel uncomfortable when they come to a NASCAR race. So it starts with Confederate flags. Get them out of here. They have no place for them.
It follows an emotional final farewell for George Floyd Tuesday.
I believe that a change is gonna come.
Friends, family members, politicians, and celebrities packing a church in Houston.
I want justice for my brother. My big brother.
His death in police custody in Minneapolis is sparking a global outcry over police brutality and racial prejudice. Just hours after the funeral, the district attorney's office announced it's dropping charges against nearly 800 protesters in Houston. On Capitol Hill, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell asking Tim Scott, the chamber's only black Republican, to draft a police reform bill.
I've asked Senator Tim Scott to lead a group that is working on a proposal to allow us to respond to the obvious racial discrimination that we've seen on full display on our television screens over the last 2 weeks.
And when it comes to the Confederate flag, another development this morning. The U.S. Navy is now planning to ban the flag from all public spaces on ships and aircraft. Inez de la Cuetera, ABC News, Washington.
Inez, thank you. And here at home, the protests pushing for police reform continue across the valley. Demonstrators taking to the streets in Mesa and Phoenix last night. And this comes as some real action is being taken by local law enforcement. John Genovese is live for us, breaking down Phoenix Police's decision to ban a controversial restraint and the reaction it's getting this morning, John.
Yeah, good morning, Nick. And at least from the demonstrators we talked with, they say that this change is a welcome change, but it still doesn't address their concerns when it comes to police transparency and accountability. Now, experts tell us this chokehold technique, which will no longer be used by Phoenix police, was only supposed to be used in high-risk or potentially violent situations, but it is now being phased out by police departments across the country. And this change comes as Chief Jerry Williams is now part of a national group of mayors and police chiefs working to address police reforms and racial inequality. For 2 weeks now, we have seen demonstrators down here in downtown Phoenix, many of them with Black Lives Matter. A local organizer here telling us the bigger issue is police oversight. We know Phoenix is now creating a citizens review board, but he says we're still decades behind.
In every other aspect of Phoenix leadership, they talk about being innovative and being on the cutting edge of development and this and that. Why are police an exception? We're over here asking for something that people have been asking for 30 years ago.
Now, the Phoenix Law Enforcement Association, which represents officers, tells us that they support the chief's efforts to strengthen the relationship with the community, but they say officers were not made aware of this change ahead of time, and they are now asking for clarification as to what methods should be used instead. Guys.
Okay, John Genovese with that live update for us. John, keep us posted because we know that there will be more to come on this. Next on ABC 15 Mornings, the unlikely group that could potentially have a major impact on this year's presidential election.
Then wash your hands, don't touch your face, stay 6 feet apart. We've been hearing these safety tips for months now, and it could be leading to something called caution fatigue. So how do we treat this? We'll talk about that too when we come back.
All right, let's talk now about your most accurate forecast here on this Wednesday morning as you're kicking off your day with us. First of all, thank you so much for joining us. But hey, if you want to step outside, maybe enjoy your cup of coffee on the patio, it's still a good morning to do it. Maybe go for a hike. Here's our view from our South Mountain camera. That camera moving a little bit. Some localized breezes near where the camera is. But all in all, today's winds looking light across the valley. Temperatures right now still pretty comfortable. We are in the 60s to 70s across the valley. Not seeing as many 50s or any 50s like we saw yesterday morning, but again, still not too bad if you do want to step outside for a little bit. It's 68 degrees right now in Glendale, 67 in Peoria. Good morning to you in Buckeye. You're waking up a little cooler, down to 64. And good morning in the East Valley. Chandler, you're at 63, 67 in Gilbert, and 70 in Mesa with 74 in Fountain Hills. As you look at temperatures across the state, we are cold again this morning in northern Arizona. We were pretty close to freezing in Flagstaff. Now I'm starting to see that temperature climb, but it's still only in the 30s in Flagstaff, and we're below freezing in Heber at just 31 degrees, believe it or not. Coat weather here to start the day in the high country, 63 in Payson, 61 in Globe, and Casa Grande. Good morning, you're checking in the low 60s. By this afternoon, it is getting hotter. Today will be about 10 degrees hotter than it was yesterday, with Phoenix topping out at 104 degrees. So those hundreds are back in central, southern, and in western Arizona. We're into the upper 80s today in Prescott, Sedona, and Payson, and upper 70s in spots like Flagstaff. And then tomorrow that temperature will go up a little higher too. So these next several days, temperatures are trending up. We'll reach a high of 104 today in Gilbert, 103 in Paradise Valley, and 103 in Apache Junction. Chandler reaches 104. Notice the 30-year average in that top right corner. It's 103. So we're going to be pretty close to average, at least, even though it's hotter. At least it's near the normal high for this time of year. Luke Air Force Base hits a high of 104. 104 today in Avondale, 104 in Peoria, and 103 today in Deer Valley, with overnight lows only cooling into the low 70s for most spots by tomorrow morning. So today, a quicker warm-up as we head into the hundreds. That'll put us in the upper 70s by 8 o'clock, and then into the 80s after that for just a couple of hours. I think we'll see the 90s by around 11 a.m., and then our temperature at 96 degrees by noon. Hundreds set in by around 2 o'clock with that high of 104. It's going to be a hot end of the week. We'll go from 104 today, 10 degrees hotter than yesterday, to 109 Thursday, and then 110 by Friday. Friday looks to be the day that our heat peaks, but then after that, temperatures drop a little bit, at least for the weekend. So we're going to get more breezes. A storm system to our north will help nudge those temperatures back down. After hitting 110 Friday, highs are near 105 through the weekend.
ABC 15 Desert Drive Time, sponsored by Accident Law Group.
All right. Thank you so much, Iris. We are getting ready for the heat. Thankfully, nothing's really heating up on our valley roadways. And with our accident law group traffic maps and our mobility trends, we're able to show you what we're dealing with as far as traffic is concerned. How many more people are on the roads now versus where they were traveling or how long they were traveling before coronavirus pandemic hit. So right now we're looking at less trips overall through Maricopa, Pinal, and Yavapai counties. And this is actually down from last week. So week to week, or even day to day, we're able to track the improvement, and we're seeing less people traveling out on the roads, less distance being traveled out on the roads. So I'll keep watching and I'll let you know what else that we find. If you're traveling from the west side of town right now on I-10, maybe or I-17 making your way into downtown Phoenix, all clear. North Valley looks quiet, East Valley looks quiet, but we do have a crash on the east side of town with our ADOT camera to show you. Loop 101 southbound, right before you're going to get onto the connecting ramp of Loop 202 Santan to go in the westbound direction, you're going to see a crash that's in the Gore Point area that's also in the clearing stages. So it's not causing any slowdowns, but just want it on your radar just in case some more people start hitting the road out there and maybe start rubbernecking in the area. But I'll check back in with you guys in a few for another update.
All right, Chelsea, thank you. Appreciate that at 6:18. New for you this morning, the Georgia Secretary of State launching an investigation into voting problems during Tuesday's primary. You may have seen this on your social media feeds. Voters forced to wait in long lines and for hours in some cases after reported shortages of poll workers delaying polling, location openings, and issues with voting machines. And the FCC says 2 people are responsible for about 1 billion robocalls last year. Now they are facing the agency's biggest fine ever. That's $225 million in lawsuits from 7 states. The FCC says the telemarketers used 2 companies to make calls offering fake health care plans.
A legal fight over voting rights for felons is getting national attention this morning and becoming an issue in Arizona. Joe St. George looks at whether felons will impact this presidential election.
I was immediately a felon, and I lost my right to vote.
Barbara Barrick's story is similar to many who leave prison. She served 2 years for theft, but after she got out, her right to vote was not guaranteed. In 11 states, felons can face obstacles in automatically receiving back their right to vote. In Florida, felons must have their fines paid. In Arizona, 2 or more felonies require a judge's order. In Nebraska, felons must wait 2 years. In Barbara's case, Virginia law requires a governor's special order, which she received 2 years ago.
When I voted for the first time last November, I felt so real. I put that little sticker on. I was prancing around. I actually cried.
With Election Day now 5 months away, Barbara and others around the country are keeping an eye on Florida, not for its beaches, but for what happens to its felons. A federal judge recently ruled forcing felons to pay fines before they vote is a poll tax, and while the state will appeal the ruling, it could mean 1 million plus new voters.
So we think this ruling will affect the voting rights of hundreds of thousands of people in Florida.
Julie Ebenstein is with the ACLU. She argued the case. She estimates this could have a major impact on the election given Florida's swing state status. It could also trigger other legal challenges in states that impose voting restrictions on felons.
I think there is certainly a trend to give people second chances, to let them rejoin the electorate.
And while it's unclear if this case will make it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court before the November election, Barbara warns this would benefit more than just the Democratic Party. A recent study by Vox found that felons vote for Democrats and Republicans equally.
It's about 50-50 down the line inside.
In Washington, I'm Joe St. George.
All right, Joe, how about some feel-good news for you on this Wednesday? A Valley 10-year-old really excited this morning, getting a surprise in the mail in her mailbox from the White House. This is after she decided to write a letter to President Donald Trump, sharing her thoughts about a possible cure for the coronavirus.
I opened it up, read the message out loud, just read it a couple times in my head to make sure that I wasn't dreaming. And then we all started going into a smiling, laughing, excited, area, I guess.
Good for her. And in that letter, President Donald Trump says he and his wife are inspired by children like her. Her name is Lori. And he also encouraged Lori to serve her community and help others in need.
6:21 on a Wednesday. Still ahead, we're taking a closer look at Black-owned businesses right here in the Valley as the national conversation on race continues. More on how you can show your support.
Finn Valley School Districts announcing plans for the upcoming school year, including a new option for parents concerned about sending kids into a crowded classroom at school.
6:25, we are open Arizona, and with the national discussion around race and Black Lives Matter continuing right now, Local First Arizona put together a special list of Valley businesses, Valley restaurants that are owned by African American men and women. So we want to just highlight a few of them for you this morning. ATL Wings, which stands for All the Love Wings, has more than a dozen locations around the Valley. They serve traditional and boneless wings with more than 20 dry rubs and special sauces. Craving a chicken sandwich? Monroe's Hot Chicken in downtown Phoenix is known for its Nashville-style fried chicken sandwich. Then pair it with fries, slaw, or cornbread, mac and cheese, you name it. And if you're craving some old-fashioned barbecue, West Alley Barbecue in Chandler has it all. Smoked fries, loaded nachos, ribs, smoked platters. Local First has nearly 50 restaurants on their list. You can find it on abc15.com/open. And if you have a favorite local business that you'd like us to feature, email us at opennaz@abc15.com.
Okay, you're making us hungry, and that's all right. Hey, happening today, speaking of local business, the return of movie theaters. One of our local chains is getting ready to start showing movies. Roadhouse Cinemas in Scottsdale telling us that they are making a number of safety changes here. Masks will not be required, but recommended, and they're also encouraging people to buy tickets online. When you do, it will automatically block out the seats on both sides of your party, all to help ensure social distancing.
Well, we've heard of quarantine fatigue, and now health experts say we're hitting a new phase called caution fatigue. So this could lead to people maybe having a hard time following health guidelines that we were once vigilant about. Experts say the best way to combat this is self-care and focusing on the benefits of following safety precautions like social distancing and increased hand washing. Arizona's first ever Mega Millions jackpot winner next at 6:30. We are talking live with the Arizona Lottery to learn more about who won this big prize.